Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with spicy Thai basil chicken. That's right, I'm going to show you my take on what my favorite neighborhood Thai restaurant calls Pad Krapow Gai, although it sounds much better when they say it. Anyway, the name actually means fried holy basil chicken, which I always assumed meant they considered the basil sacred. But as it turns out, that's actually a specific variety of basil traditionally used in the dish. But either way, this is probably my all-time favorite Thai dish. And as you're about to see, it's fairly easy to pull off at home. So let's go ahead and get started with what we're calling the sauce, even though it's really more of a glaze. And we'll begin by adding a spoon of oyster sauce to this bowl. And yes, this dark, shiny, mysterious sauce is made with oysters, which is pretty much all I know about it. But hey, that's enough. And then to this, we're also going to add a little bit of soy sauce, as well as some Asian fish sauce. And then what we'll do to balance out those fairly salty ingredients is add a little bit of coconut sugar, which I don't have, and you probably don't either. So what we'll do instead is combine some brown sugar with some white sugar to create a fairly passable substitute. And then last but not least, we will add some chicken broth. Or if times are tough, you could just use water. And that's going to be it. We will go ahead and grab our whisk and mix that up, and simply set that aside till needed. And then besides the sauce, the other thing we're going to want to do ahead of time is slice our basil. And I did say slice, not chop. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is wash an entire bunch of basil and pull off all the leaves, at which point we're going to slice these nice and thin by rolling up 5 or 6 leaves at a time. Okay, so start with a nice big one, plus 5 or 6 more on top of that, and then we'll just roll that up nice and tight like a cigar, and then using a very sharp knife, we'll slice across like this into these beautiful thin ribbons. And then what I like to do once that's sliced is turn my knife and cut 2 or 3 times across the other way, so those ribbons aren't quite as long. So these extra cuts are optional and up to you. You guys are, after all, the herbs of your herbs. But I do it because I think it helps make the basil easier to mix in later. And by the way, in an incredibly ironic plot twist, I'm actually not using Thai basil, since I couldn't find any. Alright, so chances are you're going to end up using the regular basil at the market, which works beautifully, just not as well as the much more intense, way more fragrant Thai basil varieties. But anyway, I went ahead and sliced up that entire bunch of basil. And then besides a ridiculous amount of that, in our sauce mixture, we're also going to want a whole bunch of minced garlic, as well as some thinly sliced shallots, or I guess red onion, although most stores carry this. And then last but not least, we need some sliced hot chilies, which really should be Thai bird chili, but I had to settle for serrano and red jalapeno. And that's going to be pretty much it for the prep, except for, of course, our chicken, which I really hope you're going to chop yourself using boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And what I like to do before chopping them with this nice heavy cleaver is pop those in the freezer for about 10 minutes to firm them up a little bit, which does make them easier to chop. And by using a nice big cleaver like this, or other large knife, you can chop a pound of chicken in about 3 minutes. And of course, a lot of recipes just say to buy a pound of ground chicken, but I really do want you to do this yourself. Because not only will you be able to control how fine you chop this, but more importantly, because the following conversation has never happened at a grocery store meat department. Hey Joe, do me a favor. Can you go grab all our freshest, best pieces of chicken and grind them up? No, that's usually not how it goes down. It's more like, hey, what should we do with this chicken? And the manager says, I don't know, grind it up. But anyway, one way or another, we're going to need a pound of coarsely chopped chicken. And once that's all set, we can head to the stove to put this all together, which I'll be doing in this very large cast iron pan that I've gotten smoking hot over high heat. And once our pan's hot, we'll drizzle in some vegetable oil. By the way, extra credit if you use rendered chicken fat. And we'll go ahead and transfer in our chicken. And what we'll do is sort of stir fry that for about 2 to 3 minutes. And because this dish is called fried holy basil chicken, I will of course be using my holy spatula. And I'd love to share the fascinating story of why these spatulas have holes in them. But I assume everybody knows, so I won't. But anyway, like I said, we're going to cook that chicken for about 2 to 3 minutes on high heat, basically just until it loses that raw color. At which point we can transfer in our shallots, and garlic, and sliced chilies. And by the way, you could just dump everything in and stir it. There was really no need to clear a spot in the center. That's just one of those things that looks like something you should do. But anyway, we're going to stir that in and continue cooking on high heat for another 2 minutes or so. Okay, these pieces of chicken are pretty tiny, so they're probably already cooked through. But we do want to give this a few minutes for those juices to sort of caramelize onto the bottom of the pan. And by the way, this is definitely not the same technique they use in a restaurant, where they have industrial strength woks that will cook this dish in literally 45 seconds. So save your cards and letters. I know this is not the classic technique, but it works. But anyway, we'll cook that for a few minutes, and as soon as we see stuff caramelizing to the bottom of the pan, we're going to add some but not all of our sauce mixture. What I like to do is drizzle in a couple tablespoons, and what's going to happen over the next minute or so is that little bit of sauce is going to caramelize to the bottom of the pan, mixing with the existing caramelization, and as soon as that first addition of sauce has kind of disappeared, we'll go ahead and dump in the rest, and we'll give that a stir, scraping the bottom of the pan with our wooden Holy spatula. And if everything goes according to plan, that sauce is going to deglaze everything that was on the bottom, releasing all kinds of intense flavors and goodness. And then all we have to do at this point is cook this for another minute or two, until that sauce sort of glazes onto the meat, and it looks a little something like this. And then what we'll do once it reaches this stage is turn off our heat, and we will stir in our basil, which at this point is going to look like a ridiculously large amount. In fact, if someone's watching you, they should definitely say, "Hey, have a little chicken with your basil." We also would have accepted, "Holy basil, Batman." But just keep stirring, and in about 20 seconds or so, it's going to wilt and mix in and turn into this glorious deep green color. And as soon as our basil's mixed in and looks like this, we're done. Except, of course, for the official taste. So we'll give that a sample. Maybe we need a little more salt in the form of regular salt or a little more soy, as well as maybe some hot pepper. And that is it. Once we determine it tastes exactly how we want, we'll go ahead and serve that up next to or on top of some rice. And other than adding maybe some contrived garnish, what I'm calling spicy Thai basil chicken is done. So let me go ahead and grab a spoon and dig in. And while I will admit this is better if you use the Thai basil, even using this regular standard basil, this stuff is incredible. Right, basil has that beautiful, sweet, fragrant herbaceousness that is just absolutely perfect with that sweet, salty, spicy meat. For me, just a stellar combination, and why this is one of my favorite dishes of all time. And I'm not just talking Thai food, I'm talking like dishes of all time. But wait, there's more. If you want, for an extra $1.50, we'll go ahead and top this with a fried egg, which my sources in Thailand say that's how you always get it if you order this on the street. And above and beyond the borderline inappropriate visuals it provides, that egg and the yolk in particular really do elevate this, which is not easy, since this was already pretty elevated. But anyway, that's it, my take on spicy Thai basil chicken. Whether you top this with an egg or not, I really do hope you give it a try soon. So head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.